KSI, 50 million. PewDiePie, 45 million. Make some terrible mobile games. Congratulations, you have the wealth of a small country. The first ever gaming rich list is out and it is insane. I'm Ash Dixon and this is Ginx News. Historically speaking, the UK is an interesting country. One of the benefits of spending centuries colonizing and exploiting other nations is that back at home, you get to focus on the fancy stuff like art and music. And that's why culturally speaking, we've punched far above our weight. You know what I'm talking about. Rick Astley, the Wildstone Raider, and this iconic video.
Well, it was money, yes?
You're welcome. The thing is though, through multiple ridiculous acts of self-sabotage, we've very much fallen off on the world stage. Except in the world of gaming. From content creators to game developers, it's really no surprise that as a country plagued by constant rain, we like to sit indoors all day and become giant nerds. And now, for the first time, the Sunday Times has released a gaming rich list for the wealthiest 30 entrepreneurs who have built their fortune in the world of video games. And let me just tell you, it is an intriguing, strange, and in many ways inspiring list. So let's take a dive into those who have made hundreds of millions through gaming. Starting at the top of the list, we actually have two Russians, which immediately kind of kills my whole opening premise. But stick with me, because Igor and Dmitry Buchman have been based in the UK for some years and their estimated wealth is around £12.5 billion. For reference, that's more than the entire rest of the list combined. And it's all thanks to a company you've probably never heard of, Playrix. Because that's right, we're journeying into the strange world of mobile gaming. Because they make games like Gardenscapes, and before researching this story, I'd never heard of it. And now I feel dumb because on the Google Play Store alone, it has over 500 million downloads. That's more than the entire population of the US and Japan combined. And that's just on Android. In fact, they have 4 games with over 500 million downloads in total, including Fishdom, which is sadly far less kinky than it sounds. But let's go back to Gardenscapes quickly, because it's supposed to be a match 3 puzzle game, and wait a second, I've seen ads for this, and it always involves some starving child. You must have seen them too, these ads where there's some dirty peasant girl desperate for food, and if you don't engage with the ad, they presumably die a horrific death. And you know what? That's the exact kind of evil I'd expect from a company earning billions of dollars. Also, can we talk about the mascot for this game? Because despite that man's smile, his eyes tell a different story. There is pain there, or perhaps the desire for pain, because look who appears whenever you save that kid. F***ing Mr. Beast here rocks up, celebrating your heroic actions as if he totally didn't orchestrate the whole thing. Either way, it just goes to show there is silly money to be made in mobile games. In fact, that's what makes up most of this list. It's the people who made things like Candy Crush and Sudoku. Ironically, the founders of both of those are also not British, though their companies are. Outside of mobile games, you've got some hard hitters in the form of Sam and Dan Houser, the people who invented Grand Theft Auto. They're 4th on the list with £350 million between them. Still makes me laugh that some of the best American-centric games like GTA and Red Dead were actually made up in Scotland. Gary Newman, who famously started out with Gary's Mod, sits at 6th with £335 million, a game that horrifically lives on thanks to Skibidi Toilet. But it's not just developers, there's plenty of content creators raking it in too. 21st on the list is KSI and the Sidemen. Collectively, they're estimated to be worth £50 million. Meanwhile, PewDiePie is 25th at 45 million. Obviously, he's Swedish and is now based in Japan, but several of his companies remain based in the UK, so it counts, goddammit. Then, rounding off the list, you have the likes of Dan TDM at 26th, worth £40 million. According to the Sunday Times, he's known for playing Minecraft and blue hair, so maybe a bit outdated there. And at 30th, you have Ali A and his wife, Claire Chavon, worth a collective 15 million. And there's a few really interesting takeaways from this list. First of all, gaming is clearly still one of the few places where anyone can make it regardless of your background. Other entertainment industries like music or film or theatre are nepotistic hellholes, and unless you're born with wealth or connections, you might as well go screw yourselves. And that divide is only getting worse. But in gaming, it's a different story. There's real rags to riches stories here, with former burger flippers and supermarket workers making the big time. And that's because the barrier to entry from content creation to learning to code is so much cheaper. Don't get me wrong, having money still helps, but there's not some impenetrable glass ceiling that makes you continually question your life choices. Another takeaway is, boy, is the list full of white men. It's particularly telling that only 3 women actually make the list, the highest of which being Debbie Bestwick, the former CEO of Team 17. She sits at number 13 with a value of £130 million. It's hardly surprising though, is it? Basically every woman gamer will tell you of the rampant misogyny they've encountered while playing games, and as an industry, that means we're deprived so many talented people who could be making incredible things for everyone to enjoy if they often weren't made to feel so unwelcome and disrespected. So you know what? I'll take this moment to shout out some creators like Perry Carriol and Miss Mika who are making super impressive content right now. At the end of the day, looking at that list, I feel inspired. Just the other day, I was talking to a developer friend about making a game together. After seeing those numbers, I need to get on that so I can join the thousands of other people who have had their dreams crushed by the gaming industry. What fun lives we lead. I'm curious about your take on the list though. Which up-and-comers do you see being added in the years to come? Do comment your thoughts down below. Maybe you could subscribe and check out our Patreon, Ginx Plus, as well, because who knows, maybe one day I'll be on that list. Ha 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 ha.